Hello friends. In this video you will be able to see how to install Windows 11 without USB if you only have CachyOS on your disk. The video is from the series How to Install Windows 11 Without USB Switch from Linux, so if you are interested in another distribution, look in the video description. I wish you a pleasant viewing. I have installed CachyOS with the option to use the entire disk and the Plasma desktop environment. The first thing we will do here is to download the Windows 11 ISO file from the official Microsoft website. On the Microsoft download page, search for and download the disk image ISO file. While we wait for the Windows ISO file to finish downloading, we will also download another tool that we will need, and that is GrubFM. In the search results for GrubFM, open the GitHub page for a1ev/grub2 file manager. On this page, search for the latest release and download the version in your preferred language. In general, the language does not matter much because we will use GrubFM to boot the Windows installation. Wait for the download to complete. When the download is complete, you will also need to install the KDE Partition Manager. We will do this using the console. Don't worry if you have no experience with the console, because for this purpose we will use only one command. In the console, type the command you see. Once you are ready, press enter and you will be prompted to enter your password. Type your password and press enter again. Now confirm with Y or simply press enter and the installation of the KDE Partition Manager will begin. The installation is complete and we will continue with the next step, which is to install the Grub File Manager in the EFI. In the left part of the Dolphin File Manager, open Root. Then open the boot folder and the EFI folder for which you will be asked for a password. Enter your password and in the next window open the EFI folder. In the EFI folder you see two folders, Boot and CachyOS, but now I will create a new folder that I will name GrubFM. The installation of GrubFM consists of copying a certain file from the zip archive to the GrubFM folder that I created. To do this, I will open a new window of the file manager and extract the previously downloaded file. From the extracted folder, I will copy the file grubfm64.efi and then place it in the GrubFM folder. To finish copying the file, I will have to enter the password again. Everything is ready and GrubFM is installed in the EFI. In the next step, I will install the refined boot manager. I will do this using the console because this is the most reliable way and works equally well on all distributions, so this is the way I recommend. In the console, enter the command you see on the screen and when you are ready, press enter. Enter your password when prompted and press enter again. Confirm with Y or simply press enter to install the refined boot manager. Now enter the last command in the terminal to complete the configuration of refined and boot by default on your system. This was the last step with the console. The next step is to prepare the disk. We will do this with the help of the KDE Partition Manager that we installed earlier. We will use the KDE Partition Manager to free up disk space, which we will use to create a partition in which we will place the Windows installation files. When you open the KDE Partition Manager, you will see all the partitions on your disk. The first thing you need to check here is what file system CachyOS is installed on, BTRFS or ext4. By default, CachyOS is installed on BTRFS, and if you have this file system, you can continue. However, if for some reason you have installed CachyOS on an ext4 file system, I recommend that you watch the video how to install Windows 11 without USB switch from Ubuntu to learn how to shrink this partition. To shrink the BTRFS partition, right-click on it and select Resize or Move. It is important here to free up space on the right side of the partition, which is actually the end of the disk. This is important because at the end of the video we will delete this partition and add it to the Windows partition. You need to allocate about 10 to 11,000 megabytes, which is about 10 gigabytes. When you are ready, click OK. However, for the changes to take effect, you need to apply them, after which we will continue. After applying the changes, create a new partition. Right-click on the resulting unrecognized space and select New. In this window, first select the new partition to be with the exFAT file system. It is very important to label the partition. Name it whatever you want, but remember it so you can recognize it later. I chose the label name win_install. When you are done, don't forget to apply the changes and then you can close the KDE Partition Manager. In the next step, we will copy the Windows installation files to the new partition we created. For this purpose, we will use the Dolphin File Manager. To my surprise, the Dolphin File Manager of CachyOS did not have a function for mounting ISO files. If this is the case for you, you will have to add it. To do this, from the settings, navigate to Configure and then Configure Dolphin. In Configure Dolphin, select the context menu on the left. Now select Download New Service and here look for the Mount, Unmount add-on. Once you find the add-on, install it. After the add-on is installed, you will get the option to mount ISO files in the context menu. Once you are ready, right-click on the Windows ISO file and select Mount. Now open the mounted directory and copy all the files from it. Then open the partition you created. You will be asked for a password because the partition has a different file system, so enter it. Now paste the Windows installation files you copied and wait for the copying to complete. Copying will take some time because about 8 gigabytes will be copied. When the copy is finished, I recommend that you use the option to safely remove the disk. The reason for this is that I have had cases where it appears that the file copy is complete, but in fact hidden processes are still running. This happens very often with the GNOME File Manager. This was the last step in CachyOS. Now I will restart the computer to install Windows 11. After the reboot, the refined boot manager will load automatically. Now is the time to explain why I installed the refined boot manager. To boot the Grub File Manager, we had to create a UEFI boot entry, which is more complicated. However, refined automatically finds boot files wherever they are on the disk, so it will only serve us to boot the Grub File Manager. How to recognize which icon is for the boot entry of the Grub File Manager, since currently all three icons are the same. Under each icon is listed the file that is launched, so you should launch GrubFM x64.efi, so you have to launch it. When the Grub File Manager loads, press the F3 key to see all the UEFI boot entries on your computer. Now select and launch the UEFI boot entry located on the partition where you copied the Windows 11 installation files. The first steps of the installation process are to select the installation language, the keyboard you will use, and its layout. On the next window, you must accept that Windows will be installed on your computer, and here you can also switch to the old version of the Windows installer. Enter your product key here, if you have one, or continue with I don't have a product key. Now select the version of Windows for which your product key is or you want to install. On this window, you can read the license terms and then continue. We have reached the most important part of the installation, where we need to specify where to install Windows. The most important thing here is not to accidentally delete the partition with the installation files, which in my case is labeled win_install and is the last one on the disk. Delete all other partitions and you will only get unallocated space. When you are ready, select the unallocated space and continue with Next. On the next window, click Install and the installation will begin. Overall, after completing this process, you will have Windows installed on your computer. You will then need to complete the post-installation process. I won't show the post-installation in real time because it's a really long process with multiple reboots, updates, and additional settings, so in the following footage you'll see the entire process, but at many of the stages the video footage will be sped up. After the actual Windows installation that just finished, the computer will restart automatically. So far everything has happened automatically, but now we have reached the point where you must first select your country or region. Now you can add another keyboard layout, as I will do by adding a Bulgarian keyboard layout. Now enter the name you want for your computer. Here, select the purpose for which you will use the computer. In the next few minutes you must wait for more updates and settings to be downloaded and installed. We have reached the point where you must log into your Microsoft account, and if you do not have one, use the option to create one. Enter the PIN with which you will log into Windows. Now select your privacy preferences. If you have any backups in OneDrive of the account you are using, they will be restored to your computer. There are still a few annoying settings with Microsoft suggestions, which of course you can accept or decline. This is the time to express my opinion that this is the most annoying Windows installer. I like Windows despite everything, but the increasing intrusion of applications and features in the installer disappoints me. But anyway, this is my opinion, and let's continue with a very important part of this video. Now that I have Windows 11 on my computer, I want to show you how to organize your disk the right way. To do this, I will download the Mini Tool Partition Wizard application, which I have been using for a long time. After downloading Mini Tool Partition Wizard, you need to install it. The process is easy and you just have to follow it. What you need to do after installing and running Mini Tool Partition Wizard. I want to remove the partition with the Windows installation files and add this space to drive C. To do this, I will first delete the win_install partition. Then I need to move the Windows recovery partition to the end of the disk. It is very important to be careful and not to enlarge or shrink the Windows recovery partition. Just drag it to the end of the disk and then apply the changes. Now the free space is right after drive C and I can add it to it. However, I will not use Mini Tool Partition Wizard for this, but Windows Disk Manager. The reason for this is that if I use Mini Tool Partition Wizard I will have to restart the computer, while with Windows Disk Manager it happens instantly. So I close Mini Tool Partition Wizard and open Windows Disk Manager. In Windows Disk Manager, right-click on the C partition and select Extend Volume. On the next Windows, continue without changing anything and finish the process. And that's all. Now there is no trace of CachyOS on my computer and I did this without using a USB device. I wish you the whole process to go smoothly as it did for me. If you still don't understand something, don't hesitate to write in the comments and if it is within my capabilities, I will try to help you. Thank you for watching and see you soon.